This is a summary of the fourth chapter in Designing Care, Aligning the Nature and Management of Healthcare by Richard M.J. Bohmer. The chapter is titled Care Processes and Knowledge Types. The chapter describes how knowledge has developed over time and how our approach to knowledge has changed. This has in turn contributed to the improvements in our healthcare system. Bohmer mentions three types of knowledge: scientific knowledge, organizational knowledge, and individual knowledge. Scientific knowledge is the knowledge of diseases, the etiology of diseases, and treatments. With increased scientific knowledge comes a greater understanding of diseases and therapies, leading to a better healthcare. Organizational knowledge is, for example, how we choose to organize different professions in healthcare. Individual knowledge is based on the clinician's own experience. These three types of knowledge are all joined together in the clinician-patient interaction. Bohmer also describes a term called knowledge content. He divides knowledge content into knowledge that, knowledge how, and knowledge why. Knowledge that a phenomenon exists, to knowledge how to influence the phenomenon, and knowledge why, understanding the complex interaction of the phenomenon. Bohmer gives a good example of the interaction between the knowledge content categories. In 1617, Anton van Leeuwenhoek observed microorganisms. Louis Pasteur later showed that they cause disease. Joseph Lister demonstrated that surgical wound infections could be prevented with chemical inhibition. But it was not until the 20th century that we finally understood how microorganisms cause infections. This chain of events has contributed to our knowledge of the importance of antibiotic prophylaxis before surgery. Bohmer also explains something called tacit and explicit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is something rooted in the clinician's experience and not easily articulated. Some tacit knowledge is classified as unvoiced, saying it has the potential of becoming explicit. Explicit knowledge is in turn knowledge that can be explained and taught. Knowledge can become explicit through randomized control trials, observations, for example, of vaccine, cohort studies following people over time, measure instruments, analysis, funding, individual experience, and chance. We are also taught the different stages of knowledge, from a low stage to a high stage. With high stage knowledge, decision-making is analytical rather than intuitive. With an increasing knowledge stage, problem-solving becomes easier to manage. Beginning with trial and error, knowledge then passes on to probe and learn, and in the end, result in rules and guidelines. Problems that were once solved with trial and error, that is, unstructured problem solving, can, with increasing knowledge stage, become solvable through recognition of patterns, and rules and guidelines can in the end be applied. To exemplify the development of knowledge with a disease, our understanding of diabetes has over time changed. Gradually, our knowledge of the disease, its treatment and prevention, including risk factors, has improved enormously. Because of this, diabetic people who in the beginning of the 20th century died at an early age now have the same life expectancy as non-diabetic people. In the beginning, the understanding of diabetes was based on trial and error. Later, it evolved to probe and learning, and today there are very specific guidelines on when and how much insulin to administrate depending on the blood glucose. In the future, there will probably be even more focus on prevention. The conclusion, both in this chapter and previous and upcoming chapters, is that the two systems are needed to deliver a better healthcare. One system for delivering the care that we know, and one for creating new knowledge. As mentioned in the upcoming chapters, it is essential to understand the relationship between medical knowledge, care processes, organizations, and practitioners, As for knowledge, it continues to change. The clinicians need to learn how to cope with the changes and implement them in the daily care of the patients in order to deliver a better health care.